The Gauteng Education Department says no major glitches have been reported since the 2019 online registration went live this morning. Officials are expecting 500,000 applicants for grade 1 and grade 8. Gauteng MEC Panyaza Lesufi, that's the Education MEC, joins me now for a progress report. Thank you, MEC, for your time tonight.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I believe that you already have 100,000 applications that have been picked up on the system.
150,000 to be exact on day one. It's a 50,000 increase compared to last year. Last year, around this time, we had only 100,000 people applying. So we have 150,000. So I want to thank all the parents and the guardians that went online today. That's the future, that's the way to go. And I also want to thank our sister department, e-government in the province, as well as the Department of Home Affairs, because we're utilizing their database to verify parents that do apply.
MEC, it seems that year on year there is an increase in terms of demand for Gauteng schools. What do you think is driving that?
Well, we're the economic hub of the country, and some people believe as well that the education system in our province is giving young people more opportunities. We are next to many higher education institutions, and our pro-poor packages as well in terms of scholar transport, school nutrition, free textbook, and the availability of quality educators attracts many people to come to Gauteng. So, we are quite excited. I mean, almost 95% of the Gauteng population have chosen public education compared to private education.
Are you finding that there is a migration of people from outside the province who do come to Gauteng specifically because they then have the opportunity of sending their children to better schools?
We call it Troika migration, where people from the township prefers to go to our former Model C schools, and people from the rural areas prefers to come to the townships, and people from our neighboring countries prefer to come to Johannesburg as well to get quality education. So it's striker migration, and it's very, very difficult to monitor because in some instances influenced by things that are completely outside the economic challenges that people find themselves. So we need to be ready at all times, and I'm deeply worried already, but thrilled that we've finalized day one, which simply means that we can go into our planning stage or our planning mode, which simply means we must start to plan now. How many new schools do you want? How many new educators do you want? And how many textbooks and desks we need to order? But the mere fact that parents have applied on time, it's encouraging. So we can start our planning processes now.
We'll get to the new schools in a moment. I want us to talk about the fact that you've said to parents that they should feel free to register their children for any school that they want to in Gauteng.
Yes.
Is that a realistic expectation to set, MEC?
It is, because all schools belong to all South Africans.
Yes, but in terms of just the practical logistics of how that works out in a material sense.
The logistics are there. Actually, the people that are opposing that thing are really caught up in history. We want to look forward. The thing that need to concern us is the quality of educators inside the classroom, not who applies. The thing that need to concern us is whether we've got enough schools to accommodate our learners. If people want to say you can't apply here because the language is different, racial interaction has taken a drastic turn in our country. There's no single area now that you can say this is an area for Xhosa-speaking people only. There's no single area that you can say this is for African-speaking only. You go to workplaces, people are working together. Why should our education system be discriminatory and say don't apply here because you're speaking Afrikaans, or don't apply here because you're speaking Venda? No, we must not allow that. Our argument is very simple. Everyone should apply to every school. Using those statistics, if a school still remains relevant in terms of language, we'll allow that school to continue. But if evidence argue, like in Centurion area, evidence argue that you can't keep this school an Africans only speaking school when people surrounding that particular school need another language. So introduce that language. Actually, we are defending all languages. We're not saying a language must be eliminated. We say this particular language must be introduced, which simply means the state must bring new teachers, must bring new resources, must bring all the necessary learning materials that are needed. So we really feel the debate and the argument of language is misplaced. It's people that are still have hangover of other things. We want to concentrate on quality education, access for everyone, so that our children can play, learn, and dance together.
And I think part of my question was also just directed towards the idea idea of districts, that if you fall within a particular district, of course, some of the criteria that the department uses is proximity to a particular school. So where does that then come in terms of your selection process of which child gets preference at a particular school?
Remember, we won a constitutional court that empowered the department to determine the new catchment area. Unfortunately, those changes could not be included in the current admissions, but they will be included next year. So this is a build-up for that process. The reality is that we couldn't use the apartheid formats that exclude other people. You know, if you are in Soweto, it means must apply to schools in Soweto only. If you are in Tembisa, must apply for schools in Tembisa only. Whereas we can apply if you want to Captain Park, if you want to go to Binoni, in Soweto you want to go to Sentin. Why should you be restricted purely because you are placed in an area that apartheid felt that's the only area that you need to be there? You need to break those barriers and ensure that our education system is open to everyone. Obviously, we need to manage it appropriately in terms of selection and in terms of ensuring that the right learners can be accommodated. But you must not have a schooling environment that says you are not entitled to come to this particular school because you were born in a wrong area. If you allow that, I think we'll be defeating the noble goals of having a non-racial society and also having quality education being available to everyone.
So then what is the criteria? What is going to be the determining criteria for how you choose to place pupils? There
are 5 critical qualifying areas. The first one, obviously, if you have a sibling in a school, definitely sure you must be next to your sibling. Secondly is curriculum. Which curriculum are you following? If the curriculum that you are following is only available in that particular school, we can't place you in another school. Thirdly is the issue of language. We'll definitely take into consideration that your language is accommodated there and in a position to deal those things. Fourthly, we are taking other issues related to sports, related to other matters that will assist you to be there. But what is very, very which is very important, is whether the parents will be in a position to succeed in that particular school. So we've got our own criteria that we follow, but there are also legislated regulations that forces us to follow those particular criteria. So we'll be in a position to mix all of them. But what is very important, which is something that all parents must know, there is no school that is an exclusive forte for either a certain grouping or a certain privileged people. All these schools belongs to all our children, and all our children must study together under one roof, taught by a qualified, good teacher, so that all of them can get access to quality education.
All right, that's where we leave it for tonight. Thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you so much.
The MEC for Education in Gauteng Province, Panyaza Lesufi.